So in the meantime, I just would like to introduce myself as well. I'm Stefano Nella. Hello, welcome, come here. And I'm one of the founders of Cocoon Pro, so the promoters of this event. And what I have been doing for quite a long time now, it's going to be 30 years next year, is basically organizational design and development. So it's helping organizations to meet the challenges of the changing world. And all these people which are meeting each other for the first time pretty much work in this, very nice to meet you, pretty much work in the same space. These are just labels. It doesn't say much about what we do. So I'm going to, is possible please to lower the volume of the voices back there? Yes. I'm going to give you the mic to introduce yourself, just really 30 seconds. My goal would be to have an open dialogue with the public as much as possible. So the shorter our intervention, the more we can interact with them. But still, who are you and why are you here? And how are you, by the way?
Hi everyone, buongiorno. I don't know whether I'm saying it correctly, but my name is Elisa, and I'm the chair of the European Organization Design Forum, and I'm from the Netherlands.
Hello, I'm Andrea, I'm from right here. Actually, not really right here, but from Brescia, not far. I'm a consultant specialized on experience, employee experience. I'm a coach and a facilitator. I'm actually a clown as well. That's the other thing.
Hello everybody, my name is Paul. Why am I here? That's the question again. I'm here because somebody invited me. Yeah. No, I'm here because the topic of what makes places of work inspiring and motivating is always the conversation I want to show up for.
Hi everyone, I'm Simone. I'm a professor at the University of Verona. I'm a behavioral economist. For the people who haven't heard about this word, behavioral economics is sort of the encounter between psychology and economics. So these two disciplines sort of went parallel for a long time. They never met. At a certain point, they clash, and that's what a behavioral economist does, more or less.
Hi, I'm Giuliano. I'm the founder of a communication agency. Well, still, I don't know why I'm here. I'm here, well, I think I'm here to learn something. Is there anyone else that is here to learn? Can you raise your hand? Yeah, thank you, because I feel a little less alone. Thank you.
Thank you all. So we're going to have quite a food for conversation here. And also the question is quite broad, which is what makes organizations fit for our times. And some of you might have called part of the Italian conversation up to now, but there is a lot about interdependency, variability out there, fear in people, and unrest. The polarity between cultivating yourself as an individual and cultivating a place in which individuals can flourish together. This is just one of the possible places to start. And I would invite you a couple of minutes to just place your thought in this question. Tell us where does it take you instinctively.
I mean, I don't feel like ladies have to go first, you know.
Okay, I start. I don't have anything prepared, but I'd like to share with everybody the thinking process that I went through listening to the people before and when I was invited to this panel. 2 minutes. Well, I've been measuring people's experiences, engagement, climate, and stuff like that for almost 30 years. So, first feeling was, right, let's talk about what matters to people at work. I saw a book there, Dan Pink, Drive, is on the table over there. It's a good book, recommend it. It talks about autonomy, mastery, purpose. These are the things you need to give to people. If you go to, Simone, don't kill me, you're the expert. No, Frederick Herzberg, the old factors. You want to work on the hygienic factors, you want to work on the motivational. There's a lot of stuff, I'm not going to go in depth there. Then I thought, I listened to the panel before and I threw everything away. And I thought, this is all true. You need to work on hygienic factors, on motivational factors. You need to give people autonomy, purpose, and mastery. But what's the common denominator? It's speed. It's being able to slow down. You all mentioned Alessandro, you're sitting here. The other Alessandro talked about, we talked about drawing. Rita as well talked about the power of meditation, slowing down. The excellent examples I've seen in my life so far in companies were not the ones applying a holocratic system, a team organization. Yeah, maybe as well. They are the companies that manage to give people time to think, to ponder, to create. If you do stuff, anything you do fast, you do it badly. Speed is a way to level down happiness and performance, always.
Yeah, it totally resonates with what I had in mind, what I thought of when I got that question and your invitation. The first thing that came to my mind is bias towards action. And what I mean by that is linking to what you said there is, organizations jumping into, well, we have to go this direction, we need to do this right now, it needs to be done yesterday. So let's go, 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 go. Let's not think too much, let's not make sense, but let's just do things. And then at the end of it, whether you've attained your objective or not, people will look at each other and say, well, we've done everything we could, I'm so tired. Tick in the box, and then the next thing happens, and it's exactly the same thing. And then you're stuck in this spiral where you actually don't really know what problem you've been solving because you haven't thought long enough before you jumped into action. So I think that totally resonates. The second thing for me as well is more on a human level. Really, as organizations, also having a clear point of what you stand for and advocating that as well, because it connects human hearts. When you don't have a strong position on whether there's something happening in the world or whether it is connected to the business you are in, really being more outspoken and clear on that, because it helps to break barriers and it builds bridges amongst people working in that organization. To sort of break taboos and open up conversations more. So for me, bias towards action and being more open. Yeah.
When I listen to you, for me, there's a couple things in what you say. The first is, I'm not a big fan of prescription. Somebody telling me what the end should be. Right? I must be teal. I must be self-managed. I must be, right? Somebody telling me what I need to be. Thriving organizations enable people to create what they want to be, not what somebody else tells them they should be, right? So I'm not a big fan of prescription. The second thing you triggered is I'm a simple-minded person. And so in my simple world, the question is what energizes and mobilizes people? Right? Just that simple. What energizes and mobilizes people? What is it that people... How do we create places where people wake up in the morning excited about the possibilities, looking forward to the opportunity, and embracing it in a way that would wow us all in some way? And I thought, from my point of view, the simplicity is, I boil it down to three things. The first is people want purpose and meaning. If in their work there's purpose and meaning, right, then I'm more motivated. Right? It gives life and everything I do intention. So that's the first. The second is hope. And if I'm hopeless, I'm not energized or mobilized to anything. Right? So, it's like if I'm hopeful, if people are hopeful, they're optimistic, they're looking forward, then it gives it a whole different meaning, right? And hope is really about seeing the fruits of my labors. Right? If I'm just spinning my wheels and doing nothing, or nothing's happening, right? Then it's like, why bother? And the third is people want to have voice. Right? People want to have voice. My word in English is power. But power is more than just the ability to say something, but it's the ability to be able to influence my circumstance by what I say and do. That's power, right? And so how we sort of boil it down to what energizes and mobilizes people, and how do we engage people in a conversation that brings those three things to life?
I'd like to jump in on this because these three words that you have said, they are really powerful. And starting from the question, I think that the first step is maybe to change the language. What makes organization fit? Maybe it could be better to change the word organization. We have to move from this mechanistic approach that things has to be managed, organized. We have maybe to think that we are speaking about an ecosystem. And this is why the three words you said are so powerful, because if we consider to an ecosystem, so a system that is alive, we're talking about people, we are talking about a system that needs to be generative. Maybe it's a theme for the next days. And so we need that this need of purpose, we need that people are connected. So we need connection with our values and with the purpose of the company, the ecosystem where we live in. And to give voice, we need to learn how to communicate. So we need connection, and then we need communication. And this communication is possible only if we are able to create in this ecosystem a safe space where communication take action and can live. And how can we communicate? We can communicate only if we have the courage. Before we were speaking about fear, but there is no courage if we don't feel fear. And this courage is the courage to have an hope. And thinking to my children, to our future, it's so hard for teenagers in this moment to be hopeful. And I think that it's something that we have. There is an heritage that we have to give. We have to give them a hope, and they will have a hope if they will see that there is an ecosystem where they can go and live and work with connection to their purpose, with communication to have voice, and courage to hope for their future.
Let me give just so I think from an academic perspective, I think we understand much better, and you mentioned this, we understand much better than, let's say, 20, 30 years ago, what matters for human motivation. We do start understanding many things, many elements, right? So just let me connect to a few examples mentioned before. So time, that was mentioned by Andrea, is a stressor in a sense, it's an incentive if you want, right? It's a form of incentive. You can call it, we need to do things by that time. It means you have an incentive to do something. Another way to put incentives is to sort of pay people for doing something. That's a traditional economics way, right? So there's a simple experiment. As behavioral economists, what we do is that we do experiments. So we basically bring people, either students or general population, into computer rooms, and we set up abstract tasks that serve for sort of having proof of concepts of what are the theories that we are currently developing. There's a simple experiment that basically varies the level of incentive. So either you do a task for a low incentive or for a high incentive. A certain group of people is given a very simple task. You need to press 2 keys on the keyboard the fastest you can. Okay? So A and B, for example. And every couple of A and B, you get money. Okay? Now, if you raise incentive there, you get a boost in productivity, very strong boost in productivity. Now, there's another group that actually needs to make mathematical calculation. Okay? Now they go there, you raise the incentive, and economists go like, what is happening? Performance goes down dramatically. What is going on? People are making mistakes. People are choking under pressure, basically. And that's precisely what time does, right? So that's one first thing we understand. And we've been, experimenting and doing things about this. Second thing, meaning or motivation in a sense. sense. That's what we talked before. There's other experiments, that's a very nice one, I will be very brief in this. They bring people into the lab and they ask them to build up Lego. And basically, in one case, people can leave the lab when they want, so they need to build up these Legos. And in one case, the experimenter basically takes the first Lego built and puts it on a cupboard and goes on like this. And the people can build up as many Legos as they want, and then at a certain point they get tired and they say, okay, fair enough, pay me for thing at all. In the other condition, that is called Sisyphus condition, what they do is that once you build the Lego, the experimenter gives you another Lego, but disassembled the previous Lego in front of you. So basically you're seeing that the fruit of your work is going destroyed. It has no meaning at all. People leave much earlier. Like, after the second or third Lego, they say, okay, fair enough. Maybe these 2 Legos I go home. I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. So I think these things we understand it much better. I think the challenge today is how do we build organizations that are actually sort of incorporating all these elements we know into an ecosystem, into an organizational. And I think there we know, at least from an academic point of view, we know much less.
Well, I know we could keep going for 2 hours, but I'm not allowing that now because I want to hear also the people on the other side. Keep it in a moment, we will be speaking more. So basically what we're saying is that from the previous panel, from academy, we pretty much know what will be needed. But at the same time, it's not happening. Gallup, words like ecosystem got McKinsey already and sold, all this. So what the heck is happening? Why are not we actualizing, realizing, putting into action what we know will be needed by each and every one of us in organizations? Because from students to the experiments of academy, we pretty much all agree what will be needed. So what would be your take on that? So this is not for you to ask if you have questions, but it's for you to ask if you have hints, if you have any thoughts about this, so we can discuss together. Who wants the mic? I'm not going to move forward if nobody spits here, so do whatever you like. Here we go. Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, I'm Paolo, and I'm Agile coach and a trainer. I listen a lot of interesting point of view and contents, but my question is for everybody. Now, the model we have now, right now, of organization and leadership are all autocratic, command and control. We can see what's happening in US right now. We have the president with the perfect image of the leader who decide all for all, and all the staff decide all for all, and his best inspirator is an entrepreneur who is not have this view, this vision. He decides all for all. So we don't have heroes. We don't have organization that inspire us. We need this. We don't not only need people who can work like coach, like consultancy, who can change the things, but we need some hero, some organization that can make us see this is really possible. Where are our heroes, our organization that for are heroes in this time? This is my question.
Anybody else want to speak before I leave back to the people in the panel? Yes, please.
So thank you. Good morning, everyone. Okay, we have spoken about we have spoken about maybe we know what is needed. I'm skeptical because sometimes we are, imagining where people should be, but we don't depart from where people are in the moment. So sometimes we are disconnected with that part. But looking, this is like at a micro level. If I zoom out, my question to you is, isn't it there is a discrepancy also on the way companies and the economy functions? Shouldn't we think more about a stop of producing crazy and a degrowth scenario where companies, because yeah, we are striving for people to be engaged, but to what? To a system that is really collapsing? Should we go out and zoom out and think about what is the world that we're building and where are we heading? So I would like you to connect this more into the ground, let's say.
Thank you so much. So there is another dimension here. So the dimension of the individual in the organization, and then the dimension of the organization in the world is coming in, and politics, and then we're gonna have also an institutional panel following. So it's perfect. So over to you.
So let me just on this point, you mentioned maybe we know, and this is what I mentioned before. So what I wanted to say is, from an academic point of view and probably a practitioner point of view, we do know. I'm not sure, and this is not my expertise, I think they can speak much more than me. Do organizations know? So I think the first question is, do organizations know about the human nature as we understand it from an academic point of view? And second, why don't we see organizations enacting these changes?
I mean, two things. First, I've been doing this for a while, probably since before you were born. You know, and the point about getting to a tipping point, right? Getting to a critical mass. I've been doing this for a long time, and we're not there yet, right? As much as we know, as much as we believe. But the other thing you triggered is, it's changed. What I taught leaders 45 years ago is wrong today. It's wrong today. Because people are different, society is different, the situations are different, and so it requires a different framework and a different set of skills. So I'm having to correct myself, quote unquote, right, in that conversation. The second thing you triggered is, the fastest way to the future is by leveraging what works. We spend too much time focused on what's broken and being frustrated about it than we do thinking about where are the positive deviants, who's doing the future today, how do we live it and learn from them in a way that gets us to the future faster. So I think sometimes our research, you know, your point about the research is, the research on solving problems pretty much says it's a bad way to go to get to the future. The way to the future is by leveraging what works and leveraging our strength. Now, for those of you that know appreciative inquiry, you know, David was one of my students. So this whole notion of, you know, maybe we're looking at the wrong thing. We're looking at what's broken and how to fix it, not at what works and how to make more of it better, faster, or quicker in some way.
If I may add as well, I'll give you a real life example. I'm not very positive about your point, to be honest. Real life example. Last week, I was talking to a CEO, a client of mine. We had analyzed the internal climate of this company, not very good. Main issues were people do not talk to each other, they don't know who does what, and a lot of stress. Surprise, surprise. So he goes, right, let's, we were talking about what to do next. And he said, okay, number one, I'll give people, they're stressed out, so I'll give them free counseling, coaching, or a psychologist. Yeah, great stuff. After work, every evening. Okay. And because people do not talk to each other, we organize a fantastic team building on Saturday. All right, okay. So you want people to talk to each other and just do stress. So you're saying that to reduce stress and increase collaboration, you are going to substitute their children with a coach at night and their friends with their colleagues on Saturday. I mean, he saw it, it was like different. was like, oh, so you think it's not a great idea? I said, no, I think it's a shit idea. If you want to destroy the organization, go ahead. That's going to sink it if it's not already down the bottom of the sea. You need to create space. And I had a look at the calendars of the first line, or the first report of the CEO. And you know Tetris? I mean, people need to be a certain age to know Tetris, the game. Right? Our agendas today look like a well-played Tetris game. There are no holes. A great skilled Tetris player will leave no holes. That's my Google Calendar, probably not now, but used to be when I was in corporations before. That was my Google Calendar. And to find time there to talk to people, to relax, as I was saying when I the first thing I said earlier, make some time for myself, for collaboration with other people, was impossible. The growth, you cannot propose that to companies, of course, nobody's going to, that the word does not really stick, nobody would go for that. But really, yes, that's all we should have to do. If you don't accept that the triple bottom of the concept is what, 30 years old, 40 years or 30?
Yep.
Something like that. Triple bottom line is the only way, really. If you don't accept that, if you want progress, if you want people to thrive in an organization, you need to take into account sustainability, ethics, human relations, and you have, as a CEO, as a manager, you need to be measured on these things as well, not only on the money you make. If you don't do that, people will just go for more production, and there is no space for anything else if all you want is production.
If I may, I think I disagree on the point that it's not a valid statement. And hear me out on this one, right? So I think it's a very valid point. And it connects actually to one of the points that was raised earlier around purpose. What are we here to do for, right? And that extends beyond spreadsheets and having a fancy-looking mission statement as an organization. It's also about, like, what are you here to do for as an individual? And then cascading that up to, well, what sense of belonging do I have in this organization? Because otherwise, what's the point? Like, what are you doing there, truly? And I think it's, and to your point, to connect with what you said, it's about focus. What do you focus on as an organization? What do you prioritize? Or is it just going to be a monkey on the shoulder of someone who is the chief sustainability officer and you look at it once a year? Or is it an integrated, it's in your DNA, it's so important to you, you focus on that, and therefore you will go an extra mile to get to that point. So, yeah, so I wanted to add that. And in terms of that first experiment that you shared, or like, well, both of them are brilliant. The second one, I saw it actually once, it was really funny. Anyways, people wanted to grab the Lego and just throw it outside. I read a book recently which really triggered my thinking and gave me language to things that I see in organizations in my work day to day, which is around deliberately developmental organizations, DDOs, where one of the things that in that book was stressed out quite a lot was the notion of we as employees are working so hard to do two jobs. One is the actual work that we're supposed to do, and the second is to hide our weaknesses, to hide who we really are and what we care for and what we may be rubbish at, but we want to grow in perhaps. And that is also linked to people's safety, right? There's a lot of literature recently on psychological safety. Some people find it woo-woo, it's like, what are you talking about? And others are like, well, we need that as a vehicle to get to have a really great workplace. So for me, answering that question perhaps is also around how can we as individuals contribute in creating a deliberately developmental organization where everyone can fully be themselves with their weaknesses, and how can we help them shift that into something that where they want to be.
Well, just to give us an answer to what was asking. So there's a connection between, okay, we need, for example, you were saying about the purpose, and he was asking, okay, but where we can have an hero of this purpose-driven ecosystem or organizations. And well, I don't have the answer, don't worry. Maybe I have the other question, that is, where we can find people who really take care of others. Maybe there we have our new heroes, or where we can find people, leaders, who take an aesthetic vision, as we are in the Beautiful Work Week, to what an organization could be. So leaders that ask you, wow, is there anything of beautiness that we can do, and not only something that do we have to produce better or more? No, can we do something about beautiness in our life? And the third thing, and then I connect to the word emptiness that you were saying. Do we have the courage to create emptiness? Is there someone here that has the courage to create empty spaces? Because only in the emptiness the real connection can happen. And we build our organization to fulfill everything. So there are so many models and paradigms that help us to make the best efficiency. Efficiency is to fulfill everything, to use all the energy. And instead, can we waste a little bit of time? Can we have empty spaces? And in that space, I'm vulnerable, and in that vulnerability, I can find your help. And so, building on what the previous panel was saying, here we can be together and not alone. So this is, I know that I didn't give you the answer, but the point is, let's look together to these kind of heroes that are not really heroes, because we are no more in a heroic vision of the work. We are probably in a more aesthetic and ethic, and I say erotic in the sense that we create the space to the connection, so there is this attraction, and this is the time to maybe make this kind of question.
The thing you trigger is, the phrase that I use is, less is more, right? And create emptiness, this is about stopping things or not doing things, and it's out of that less is more and that emptiness, there's the opportunity to create, I think is your point, right? And so it's, because the word that when I think about thriving organizations and creating great places to work, it's the word emergence comes to mind, right? And if we have too many rules, too much bureaucracy, too much hierarchy, too much of anything, then we don't have the opportunity, right, to create. And so it's about creating the conditions in which things can emerge, right? And whether that's an organization design question or a human conditioning question, right? But it's how do we create this conditions in which things can emerge, how I want it to be, what I would like, what my work would be, how I might organize it. I think that's a big part of it, right? And we're too quick as humans to fill the void. Right? The other thing you triggered, right? It's like, I don't know how many of us can live in emptiness for more than about half nanosecond, right, or something like that. So it's that human condition that says we like to fill in the blanks, right, which we shouldn't rush to, right, but more allow for emergence in some way.
Because it feels awkward. It feels awkward if there's a silence, right?
Yeah,
like now, I'm trying to fill the silence.
Yep.
All right. We're going to close in a few minutes this panel. By the way, consider joining the 2 days of conversation in the European Organization Design Forum event. I'm sure we can make a spot for you even if it's full. So if somebody wants to last minute jump in, we'll find a way. I'm saying this so she can kill me. She's right here, so we're safe. I'm not, but you are. So, before closing, how is it playing out in your life, individually? I mean, good words, good ideas. We all agree, I guess, on most. Or please disagree aloud. How is it playing out? And why is it difficult for you, if it is, to find such an organization, to make such an organization, to be such a person that dares to leave spaces for emergence, for creativity, for connection in your own schedule? What is not working for you? What is not adding up? Why is it not the norm? Why is it not the life you are living already? Or if it is, how does it feel to you? Was it difficult to get there? So just really a few minutes, any hint of this, on your individual level, so that these are not just good words, but how does it land in your weekly, daily life? Who dares?
Thank you. My name is Kenneth. I live in Scotland. I think that the missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle is accountability. There are good reasons why people behave in top-down, controlling ways. Often they're being held to account by their board. If they're a public sector organisation, they're being held to account to other democratically elected people. There's a drive for performance. And it can be very hard to say, we're just going to take a pause and stop acting. Or we're just going to allow things to emerge. And we can't tell you what they're going to turn into, but just trust us. I think we need a way of reconciling the world of this conversation with the world of accountability. Because at the end of the day, it's very rarely my money that's at stake here. It's somebody else's money.
Thank you. I'll keep the mic on the people here for a while if you want to join in.
Thank you. My name is Rachel. I'm from Rome. I actually have a heretic question, which is, and I've been sitting with it for many months now, if not years. I wonder whether we're asking the wrong question when we say, how do we make organizations fit? How do we forge and nurture a thriving organization? Or how do we make it fit our time or benefit the people? And I was also thinking about what Miriam said about organizations ending up being toxic even though the people working in them are in good faith and wanting to create a better present and a better future. So I wonder whether putting the organization's survival and entity as what we're trying to steward or hold, is that the wrong question? Do we need to go back a step and actually begin with the individual? And then the question becomes, it's almost like reinventing it from scratch and saying, how can we be together? And I also like what Giuliano said earlier about caring, taking care of each other. And if we're going to prioritize the survival of the organization as an entity, is that where we are sacrificing the caring for each other? And can we reverse the perspective and start again from who are we as individuals? What is our dream, each of us? What are we holding? And how do we get organized from there and move forward? So it might mean just really letting go of the notion of organization, but I'm just kind of throwing that and smashing the shop window with this question. Thank you.
So, we don't need necessarily all people answering, but who wants to jump on this tension between the needs of the organization and the needs of the individual in terms of accountability, in terms of health, in the broader sense?
Just a very quick comment on the accountability issue, and it's more actually, it's not an answer, it's more another question, I guess. So maybe it's not solving anything. But I see your point, and what I think could work is to have time or space as an organizational design feature, in the sense that the firm or the structure of the organization allows these spaces as a as a structure. So and so it's not like one day you come and you say, okay, we need to take time now, and it's a surprise. So probably inserting these elements into the organizational design is what we need actually. On the other hand, the more you make it structured, the more you have a problem with emergence, I guess. So I think there's a trade-off there, and there's probably an optimal point to find, which, again, as I said, it's a question in a sense, because we need to, I think we need to work on that. I mean, probably I'm not the most expert person on the planet to talk about that, actually, but I think this is the challenge.
Before leaving it to Paul, just to note, to your point, that a lot of the work we're finding ourselves doing with organizations is about their habits. So introducing in their process, so to say in their organizational design, the moments that allow different frequencies that allow important things to happen. They have a safe space, protect the space exactly for that. So to your point.
And habits die hard. Habits die really, really hard. So it takes, it's about balance at the end of the day. You're never going to get the balance completely right. And it definitely is an org design feature. But even then and there, you'll mess up, right? But then you need to also trust the group to correct itself as a mechanism. And it's ups and downs, ebbs and flows. But really, habits die very hard. And I think that's why people really struggle in organizations. And when you speak to people individually, they probably agree or they have a specific view. You're like, whoa, you're so clever. And then as an organization, you end up making a decision and you're like, what, how did you end up there? So there's something in the dynamic that happens. And I guess it's also accountability for yourself. Are you opening up your mouth to change something, or are you behaving in a way that is going to help the organization move to where it's supposed to move? Like, what are you doing to contribute to that? Or what are you doing to inhibit that from happening? So it's back to your point about, it starts also with the individual, for sure, yeah.
I have two reactions. The first is to your comment about the reality of the world. When I hear it, it feels like gravity. It holds you back, holds you down, and somehow, in order to change the paradigm, we have to break through gravity. It's like getting from the Earth to outer space in some way. Right? And the only thing I can think of is what we have right now is a lot of negative models. What we don't have or communicate or share is a lot of positive models, right? There are fewer of them, so we need to be careful about it. But partly the problem is painting a different picture and giving people a different perspective on what could be. So they're holding on to what they know. That's my first reaction. And so how do we change the conversation to more focus on the exemplars that are more aligned with our wishes and our hopes for the future? The second reaction I have was to your comment about organizing at work. Organization was a noun. I think it's a verb. I think we're changing it, right? The word work doesn't mean the same thing it meant a long time ago, right? What one defines as work, right, is much different today than it was 30 years ago. 30 years ago it was a job, and we designed jobs. We designed jobs based on motivation, research, and theory, right? Autonomy, feedback, blah, 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 right? But the nature of work is highly different today. And so we have these two words we keep throwing around, organization and organizing and work, and I think we need to talk about what those things mean, because I don't think we're aligned on that. Right? And so there's, and it would be an interesting set of conversations about, is organization about noun or verb? Right? And it goes back to maybe my version thing. So,
can I just a quick comment on Rachel's point? I think the question you raised is very relevant, very urgent, and would probably require a conference. But you triggered a couple of quotes in my brain, and I want just to share. So I'm not going to really answer. I'm just going to put them out there. One is from Arawana Hayashi. There's her book down there on the table, Social Presence in Theater. She comes from the Presenting Institute. I was with the Presenting Institute in Berlin about a year ago. She wasn't there, but I don't know, Otto Sharma, these people were there. And Otto at some point shared a quote from her, which I really found, it's a bit simplistic, but I think it's really deep. She says, when you're at work, you don't have to like your colleagues. You just have to love them. And I think, it sounds like a paradox, but it really is not. It's very deep. And that quote triggered another memory in me. I told you in my introduction I used to be a clown. I wasn't kidding, I really was a clown in hospitals, whatever. And I did that. And I studied with Pat Adams. You probably know him. So I did, a couple of workshops with Pat Adams over here in Milano when he came over. And the second one, the title was, What's Your Love Strategy? I was like, what the hell? We thought we would learn clowning and juggling and stuff like that. We didn't. It was 1 week of just talking, meditating, hugging each other. It was all about that. He thought, it was George W. Bush had just been elected, and he thought, in the States especially, but globally, because America is so important, you know something about that these days, don't you? He said, we need to do something about love, because we are spreading hatred across the globe. So he was in the world teaching people to develop a love strategy. And I thought, I still treasure that, I still use it in I'm a consultant, so I talk to a lot of people. I don't like them all. Here on the stage, there's 2 of you I don't like. No, I'm kidding, sorry. Just right. No, I like it. Yeah. Thank you, I like you. Yeah, seriously, no. When you talk to other people, you end up not liking people. And the question I need to ask myself, and I really do, is, okay, you don't like this guy, this man, this woman. What is your love strategy to work with this person? Because I don't need to like them. I need to love them. And if we manage to spread this in organizations, I think it's probably a good step in the right direction.
Can I add one sentence?
Yeah.
My coach always tells me, and sometimes it's about colleagues, I'm telling you how annoying they are. No, I'm joking. But seriously, it resonates with what you said. She asks, what is the most loving thing you can do in this situation? Yeah. And that question really irritates me, but in the moment. But it kind of resonates to your point. Yeah.
So I like so much this point of view of the love strategy, because it is really linked to why we are here. We would like to talk about regenerative work, but when work is really regenerative, when is generative, when we generate something, we feel so satisfied because we are giving a part of our lives, and this is what love is about. And so it is something that someone else is calling the generosity strategy. So every time we create a generosity strategy, we are on this page that you were telling. So and it's the balance about the me and the we you were talking about. So I need to self-trust, to self-love, and then I can do something for others. And there is a balance that we have to find, because otherwise we burn ourselves. When we make something, you've done that great experience in the hospitals, you need to find the energy to give time for yourself, again, to give silence, empty spaces, and then you will have the energy. So we have to to find the strategy of generosity and of love also to ourselves, not only for the organization or the ecosystem where we live. Because we first are ecosystems that need the same strategy.
Well, I mean, I just wrote an article about a factory that is 45 years old. So it was started in 1980. Has no managers. It started with 200 people, it's now 1,000. It started with one product, now 15. You know, and it has continued. It's successful. The article's about what makes it successful, and maybe we could apply to the future, right? And how, you know, the article is really what does the past teach us about, or maybe help inform us about the future. You know, and one of the things that's interesting about it is, in this place, people run the business. They don't have a job. They run the business. Right? They talk to the customers. They do their own market surveys. They create attractive places to work in order to attract people to the work. Right? You know, and so it's a shift in their way of working, and they veer off course every now and then a little bit. But then the other point that you triggered is what sustains it is the underlying principles. Right? What they're trying to do from a human system perspective. Those principles have never changed in 45 years. Right? The practices have, obviously. Right? I mean, 45 years ago they made everything with machines. Now they do everything 3D printed and everything else. So the technology and everything has evolved. But it's evolved because the people embraced it in order to sustain themselves. Right? So it's a whole different shift in the way of thinking is what you triggered. Right? Okay, that's my time, right? A little long off.
Timely, and to say the least. So, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much. This was the beginning of the conversation. At the very least, it's gonna last until this Saturday, but it's probably gonna last a lot longer. I would like to propose one thing to wrap a couple of things up, and so we can go back to the audience and engage in the next panel. I heard a lot talking of work-life balance, no? And now we are beyond that. Finally, you say, okay, that doesn't make sense, even logically. There are two different levels. So work is part of life, so it's a different kind of framing. What if the polarity between we and me, we and I, is also a fake one? What about the interdependence we heard in the previous panel? Is actually a reality, and our idea of what is being an individual is mechanistic. It's actually not real. And what if love we're talking about is not an emotion, but it's the human experience of being something together, being one thing, not being separate things? If that is true, then the question becomes, how do we change our way of organizing in order to take that into account, to make that happen so that it becomes love by design, so to say. So really empowering the fact that there are no individuals. So nobody is an island or even a planet out there. So that's another thing to explore. I think we're getting there. Even in the practice of organizing, we're getting there finally. Even though ecosystems has been McKinsey as a word, but still it is a thing. It is a lively thing. It's a thing of life. So this is where the work could be taken. So there is no longer me or we. There is just one thing that is both, actually. It simply is both. And so you don't have to choose. You might align those things. Like when you are a father or a mother and you are doing the interest of your children, is that altruistic? Is that egoistic? Isn't it the same thing? So I would like to leave this open as a follow-up question. Thank you so much again for being with us. Thank you all.